1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whispers of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. Eres un buen padre, eres tú, soy amado por ti. Es quien soy yo, es quien soy yo, es quien soy yo. Oh, and I mean, many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. You're a good, good father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. 'Cause you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, it's love so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think, and you call me deeper still, and you call me deeper still, and you call me deeper still into love. Love, you're a good, good father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. Eres un buen padre, eres tú, eres tú, eres tú. Soy amado por ti. Es quien soy yo, es quien soy yo, es quien soy yo. You're a good, good father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. Who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am.
Our ministry is 25 years old, and so we've been caring for families and inmates for that long. And one way we do that is we take Christmas gifts. They come on behalf of the inmate. Many of the inmates are in a county jail, so they have a lot of limitations. So this is a great way for us to be able to care for the inmate by caring for their family. And it just gives us just a little bit more credibility with those inmates as we share the gospel with them.
Yeah.
170 families represents about 800 kids.
Gosh.
Really what it means to remember the poor and marginalized is not just keeping them on your mind. It is a literal remembering, meaning bringing them back into the fold. It is connecting them back to the church through remembering that they have worth. And that's what I love about Chicagoland Prison Outreach. Jeremiah 29 says, seek the peace and welfare of the city where we were sent into exile. Meaning that the very place where God has sent us, the people that are there, they are the ones that we're there for. They're our main purpose. So we partner with Chicagoland Prison Outreach, who partners with other local churches, so that we can provide gifts for the families of the incarcerated. But here's the kicker. When we show up to give the gifts to the children, we don't say, hey, here's the church's gifts to you. We say, look, your loved one thought enough of you to take the time to make sure you had Christmas gifts, and we just get to deliver it. We've been doing this now for,
10 years?
10 years maybe? And what happens is we've been going to the same families for multiple years. And we get there and they got food waiting on us. We got a young lady named Marva who's been coming to our church for the last 3 years, who the first time she walked in our church, she had no shoes on and had just come down from a heroin overdose. She was looking for us to get her to a hospital. Well, what did we find out? She was the niece of one of the families, the Thai family that we've been going to for 10 years. And so we walked in there and realized that it was our family. And they were like, oh, she went to Canaan. This is not an outreach where they're taking all the glory. No, this is about those incarcerated and their families. So Corey, I just want to say thank you for letting Canaan be a part of it. You know what I mean? And as we continue to remember the poor and marginalized, my advice to you is to find a ministry you can partner with that respects the human dignity in every person, no matter where they are or where they find themselves, and find a way to remember one another.
Notice it doesn't say Sunday by Sunday. We'll get to that. We'll get there in a second. It clearly says day by day, they spent much time together in the temple, watch this, and they broke bread at each other's homes. That means that the ordinary people got together every day to worship and to fellowship. They got together every day to sing to Jesus and to eat each other's food. You know, like we so focused on Sundays, we so focused on temples, we so focused on pews and rugs and windows and balances and budgets. Don't you realize we don't need a steeple? We need a table for ordinary revival to happen. This is what the passage is saying. We're worried about big buildings, and he's going, you need tables with food for you to sit at. Ordinary people. We think that it takes some extraterrestrial thing, some special other thing that we don't have for revival to happen. But I want you to look at what this passage says. So at the end of 46, they ate their food with glad and generous hearts. Y'all, it clearly begins by saying they were thankful for what they had and stopped complaining about what they didn't. Thankful, glad, and generous hearts. That's not crazy. That's not miraculous. That's just saying, God, yeah, we struggle, but I'm glad that we got what we got. Things are not what we want them to be, but I'm so glad that you are faithful that things are the way they are. I'm so glad that you haven't left us, that you've never forsaken us, that you're still walking with us. Even when we forsook your way and did it our own way, you never left us, God. You walked with us, and we are thankful and glad, and we want to be generous because of it. Your thankfulness leads to your generosity. We don't have to worry that if we begin to be generous with our stuff, that there might not be enough for us anymore. We don't have to be afraid that if we begin to give out, that there'll be no one giving in, because we recognize that we have plenty to be thankful for, and the God, we are thankful for what you have already done, will continue to do as we give. They feel that continuum. He gives, we give. We get, he gives. We get, we give. No more scarcity. After it says they ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God, it says, and having the goodwill of all the people. I went to Eugene Peterson and got the Message for a second, and I pulled it out and I said, let me see what Eugene thinks they're saying right here, right? And Eugene says that he would translate this passage in, people in general liked what they saw. Thanked God for what they had. They became generous and gave out. And then people in general liked what they saw. What did they see? They saw a people who were together and had all things in common. What did they see? They saw people who sold their possessions and gave to everyone as they had need. What did they see? People who day by day were at the temple together and in each other's homes and thanking God for what they had and giving generously day by day. And then what did they see? They saw people who they did not recognize, because all the other religious people they'd ever met didn't live like that. And although they may not have understood this Jesus guy, they looked at the disciples and was like, you know what? I can get down with that. You know, the Bible says that if you would lift me up, I'll draw all people to me. Your job is to live in a way that lifts me up. Different, look different. Ordinary people in ordinary places doing ordinary practices that lift me up in a way that makes you look weird, and people go, you know what? I like what I see. I have never seen church folk who can be together and have things in common. They're usually arguing. What kind of church folks are these? I like them church folk. I've never seen church folk who really sell what they have to make sure that people are taken care of. I've never seen church people who really love their neighbor the way these folks do. What kind of church folks are these? I've never seen church folk who spend all their time together. They in the neighborhood every day. I see them in the coffee shop. And then they got the nerve to just be thankful and not complaining. What kind of church folk are these? I don't know if I love your Jesus yet, but I like what I see. And after that, oh, y'all, listen to the revival. Day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. I want you to see how the revival works. I know we want 3,000 on one Sunday. I know we want to see amazing things happen. But he says day by day, dinner after dinner, school play after school play, football game after football game, barbecue after barbecue. When ordinary people living in ordinary places, doing ordinary practices, allow God to add the extra, then you get some extraordinary stuff happening in your ordinary place. That's it. Will you be excited that we already got ordinary people who trying to have all things in common, who recognize that they need to get rid of their privilege and start handing out stuff because they need to see some equitable inclusion. You get excited about folks who see that there's not a scarcity lens in which I'm going to look through anymore, but my God is generous, and so I can be generous. Trust that God is able to do what God said. God doesn't need us to do God's job. I don't need you to try to change hearts. I don't need you to try to convert people. That's not your job. Your job is to be ordinary people, living in these ordinary places, doing just ordinary day-by-day practices, trusting that when God's extra is attached, the folks will start saying, ooh, I like what I see. And then trusting, even if it ain't at the speed you desire, that day by day, God is adding day by day. But will you trust? Will you trust that that's God's plan? Will you trust in Jesus, not in your own power?
If we neglect the command to visit the prisoner and to seek out their flourishing, and yet we still fight for justice, we also miss it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we wanna end mass incarceration as it is, but don't wanna spend time with the people who are actually experiencing it. That's not the answer either. So I love like this balance that I think strike. And I think that's why I'm always have our church connected to CPO, because it gives us a balance. You can't just have an issue without relationships. So this guy's challenging and pushing us to go into the prisons with him. So that's the next step for Canaan.
You know, I think so often we want to solve problems and people just want to be loved and they just want to be cared for. They're not there for you to fix everything that they have, but they just want a church that they can trust, a church that will pray with them, that'll walk with them, that'll listen to them, and a place where they can fit in. And those places are places where they can feel that they're worthy, that they have dignity. And so to partner with churches like Canaan, who are committed to community, who are committed to a certain geography, it just is a great partnership. And as we're working with mainly men, this means the world to them, to know that they're solid believers who are caring for the community and their families.